3:57 p.m. Saturday, April 30th, 2022. When the first of the month falls on a Sunday, Friday and Saturday is when people get their money. So it's a weekend. It's just a weekend. I was in the gas station last night talking to the lady that works there. And I had noticed a police officer rolling in to the parking lot. And I walked in and I bought my 2 bottles of tea and went up and, oh, how's it going? I was like, I'm all right, but the night sucks. And talking about, people and not tipping, and it's regular conversation. I don't normally bitch about not getting tipped, but I was like, man, nobody's making money tonight except for that one guy that nobody likes, and he just keeps making this money that is above and beyond what everybody else. And it's like, how? Why? I don't. And I try not to be like that. I don't want to, turn into a hater myself, kind of thing. But it's one of those things where it's like a porch pirate, basically. Or you're requisitioning, and that which is then sent to you is basically intercepted. That's kind of what it is. And outside of that dude intercepting pretty much on everyone, we all the closers, I think, and the late driver, I got to talk to the late guy tonight and find out what his thing was. We discuss it and we keep track of trends. We all keep track of who does and doesn't tip. And it's like, I don't know, it just, standing in the gas station, having just bought my tea, about to walk out, officer walks in, oh, hey, how's it going? And, just, talking about how it's, that first of the month thing, and these fixed income people are like, they want to splurge and get their pizza, but they don't feel like they can justify the extra couple of bucks for a tip. And it's like, if you're in that position, maybe your fixed income needs to be prioritized towards something other than fucking Domino's pizza. And the cop just kind of went, yeah, bro. I was like, but what do I know? Who the fuck am I? And out the door I went. And so yeah, I think the bare minimum for everyone was 100. That fucking guy made like 140 something. That night that I made less than 100 on Friday, he worked an hour less time than I did and walked out with 165. Now that night was a double fuck, because that night, Friday, was the out of town manager that kept 6 drivers until half an hour before close. It was almost an hour in between runs for each individual. We had time to get all of the closing done completely, so it would be right out the store right at the end. Good for that dude. Bad for literally everyone else, except for that fucking guy, because he just made his money anyway. That fucking guy is a flat out bigot, an N-bomb dropping racist. He screws people a lot and then denies it. Tries to be nice back after that, but then goes right back into screwing people. The rest of us look out for each other. We try and make it even so that, nobody comes out the bottom. That's the point. So that there isn't somebody that's like, oh, fuck, I don't, what is it, is it a Tootsie Roll? Whatever it is, I got this, I got a rock. We try actively to at least avoid the I got a rock. Not individually, but for all of us. So right now is a recession. It's springtime to boot. And what that means is barbecue season. It means nice weather. It means unless it is rotten weather an hour before dinner time, and anybody who's planning on going out then decides to order in instead. And I mean, the sky's looking mean, but it keeps doing this every single day. It's like, whoa, man, maybe it's going to do some shit. And it really doesn't. And so dinner rush goes by. We have too many drivers for the orders that we have, but people's got to get their hours in. For some reason, we hired 2 more drivers. I don't understand that, but maybe there's a reason. But just on that angle. Amongst this, I'm, of course, always thinking about things like why is this the way that the world has to work? Why are there people that are pushing ideas that have in the past failed miserably to great disastrous effect? The system we have, in theory, should work. The problem is, in order to allow the kind of freedom that should be allowed to be within the system, and when I say allow, we'll get to that in a second. If more people got their act together voluntarily, is what it comes down to. So allow, let, right? I was listening to an explanation that Nick Rekieta gave on a super chat. See, here's the thing. Here's what my influence on the world is. I don't get to make the big bucks. I don't get to get the notoriety. I get to make content almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day at some points for now going on 6 years on the same channel to get 219 subscribers. And I'm not bitching. That's a lot more than I ever thought I would have. That I thought I would have in the sense of understanding how it really is, not in an avarice. So my influence is, I do have a unique name. I am somewhat prominent in comment sections. I will never get the big fame, but I do get replies and hearts and such from actual big channels and small ones too. And I can gauge pretty easily quality of a channel by their interaction with their audience. There are some that are just, either they just never do that because that way it's the most neutral way to be, or there's it's the acknowledgement, the direct interaction, the connection with this, because it's with a platform like YouTube, it's not just like talking heads reading scripts. Yes, there's a lot of that, but there's also just people. So Nick's got a great channel. He's interacting with his audience. And yes, he's mentioned me by name from non-super chats on his streams. That's quality right there of character. That is the realness. And that's my test. So he also reads the comment sections on the Law Nerd clips. I think he'd probably, if he goes and checks something out from time to time, because he knows those he'll check the videos out. I'm positive of that. So it's possible that he's seen comments that I've made. That's the influence. I made a comment on a clip about something to do with the Second Amendment on a Law Nerd clip video that somebody had critiqued or contested, and there was a nice polite back and forth. For all the total degeneracy in the chat on a show like Rekieta, that the actual individuals that are throwing that trash out in the chats, myself included, will have some really high-level civil intellectual discussions and disagreements in the comment sections of the video or of the Law Nerd clip, but other people will see that, and that's used to promote. The idea is not the individuals that are being promoted. The idea is the enlightenment of the public. More people hopefully figuring out to voluntarily get their act together. The thing with Star Trek is that there's a lot of dignity to what they did. That was the point. It wasn't the socialized whatever. It was space. It was space communism, they call it, fully automated because they got the AIs. And the communism part is that everybody is in Starfleet using this technology. They are in the military. You have to be part of the government to get that. That's the point. Well, of that. But the real point is the dignity. So, human dignity, that's the point. Human dignity is the fundamental root of the natural right of the individual. All of us are born with. By existing, having our own sense of direction and self and whatever, the ability to choose or decide or however you want to look at it and call it, based on all my past videos the last several weeks, right? We're coming to a thesis. It's about human dignity. It's about, these natural rights are about human dignity. It's about each person having the right to that. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, or however you want to permutate it, but it's the same kind of thing. Which is why I think that there are things that are psychologically destructive that should not be embraced en masse. However, for certain individuals, once they are, whatever, of the right age or within capacity, it's one of those things that's like, well, I do cocaine, but I can afford it. It's like, dude, if you're not completely destroying your life and you do a bump from time to time, who gives a shit, right? But sometimes there are things where it's just like, nah. So, for example, communism. Individual communes are fine. Trying to turn the world or an entire larger scale, that scaling is the problem. Scaling means taking it from this and making it to this. And if you don't understand that, that is a fourth dimensional concept. So, Nick was talking about something that was kind of similar to the breakdown. And it's entirely also possible it was just a great minds think alike. Or otherwise, I and he followed the same kind of logic. I don't know, but that's what seems to be my influence in the world, which is why I'm content with that. Because it's not just him, and it's not like it's a direct thing or whatever. But he did say something about free speech in the Constitution and the idea that free speech and many other natural rights, the natural rights themselves, all of them, including dignity, are how did he put it? He said they are outside and predate the Constitution and our government. They are God-given in that sense. It's like in the beginning there was nothing and God created everything, right? And from that was created our natural rights. Now, if you don't believe in God or you don't believe in any of that, just think of it as each individual self-aware conscious entity has a right to these natural, they have these natural rights. They are born this way. We all are. Because it comes down like a golden rule kind of thing, like a do unto others as you would have them do unto you kind of thing. Not treat others, not treat others as they have treated you, but do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Help people out, do good things. Hopefully others will voluntarily come around kind of thing. I'm not talking about in my life at this point like I was a year ago or the year before that. I'm just talking about in the world in general. Being excellent to each other has been forgotten by a lot of people. But it's not just about, being cool to folks and being seen as being cool to folks, because that's not what it's about. Everybody should be able to have dignity. In some cases, dignity means not enabling or normalizing a mental health issue. So it's like, I could rationalize my delusions as a bipolar person into something that on a religious or spiritual level would basically be like the Gnostics did back in the day in like the Hellenic Greek Empire that was then taken over by Rome. It would be like not a sovereign citizen kind of thing, but like through my own religion, the government must recognize that I'm God for me. And therefore, I give myself all rights, and it would be like a sovereign citizen thing to the government, like you have literally no power. And the point of it is that the government itself is simply the operation of administration of the basic human needs of whatever area they govern, as well as the environmental needs, as it should be, not carbon footprint taxes and all this other doublespeak, backward, whatever, but like actual stewardship of people and land to benefit. It's kind of like that fiduciary responsibility thing from the Twitter videos. The government has a responsibility to provide the administration of the needs of certain things. The governance, not the rulership. The people in charge of the system are to, govern, but it is representation of the people. That's the whole point. The thing is that there was originally a monarch who had this colony, and he did some really funky stuff with the colony, and the colony was like, all right, bro, you can stop coming back. We're good here. And that was the start of the American Revolution. So, that was what I was talking about. The Constitution lays out the system by which the people who do the running of things are prohibited from infringing on certain rights in the process of governing. That is what the Constitution is. The Constitution constitutes, like you reconstitute something, you add water and it becomes the thing that it's meant to be. They've constituted a system of people need leadership, people need slight direction, things need taken care of on an official level, or people just will go wild. So they continue the frame and shape and trends of civilization through governance, with the idea that the people themselves would pay into the system to run the system, that the system would be run by people from within that system. That's how that's supposed to be. And economically, what it is that the redistribution of wealth over time and the lack of education among people about how the system actually works has allowed the system to become what it is today, which is very corrupt. I believe that the framework of the system itself is 100% sound. And simply, we should fumigate, scrub, and sanitize the halls of Congress and all other places, remove all listening devices and everything else, maybe install publicly available live stream security feeds of every single inch of every single public building, because those are all our property, right? That's how it works. That's what it says in the fucking Constitution. So the thing is, laws that are passed, government officials, anybody that comes at you or to you and says, hey, you can't do this, you must do that. If you don't, there are consequences. Those consequences could be fines, they could be imprisonment. Upon which right or authority do they have to say that to anyone? Well, it depends on who they work for, right? Do they work for a city or a county? That city or a county is accountable to the laws and constitution of the state. The state laws and constitution are accountable to the Federal Bill of Rights, and there's a states' rights thing in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution for the United States government, which says that anything not expressly delegated to the federal government is the right of each state individually to handle. So if it's something the federal government's trying to do that the state government's already got, and it was never originally outlined that that was the federal government's job, if the federal government was to do so anyway, that's tyranny by definition under the Constitution. I believe tyranny is defined in the Constitution. If not, it's definitely defined in the Declaration of Independence, upon which the Constitution is founded, because the Constitution is the setting up of a new government based on the getting rid of Britain no longer living under the crown and just refusing as a people to live under that. So whereas our Constitution is not is the government recognizing our rights, is what like the Bill of Rights is the government must recognize our rights. It's not that they grant them. Nowhere in the Constitution, in the amendments to it, does it say the government grants the right. It simply says the people have this right, the government is not allowed to abridge it. The people have this right, it shall not be infringed. The right of the people to be free from the government doing this, the government may not do this. The people have a right to this, and the government must abide by. All of those amendments are like that. At no point does it say the government shall grant the right of blah to anything, to anyone. It doesn't say that. Not in ours. Now, in Canada, it's different. Canada needs a new constitution, is what they need. Their constitution is basically a fakery that allows the monarchy of the UK to still control it, but right now Great Britain's not really doing shit with Canada. And so Canada's got a dictator locking it down. Now, our Declaration of Independence is Declaration of Independence from the government of the monarchy of Britain, which had its own crown and seal and imagery and pieces of paper with official sounding words on it and signatures and little wax stamps. They based theirs on the Magna Carta, which was, as I recall, and of course this is an exceptionally abridged history here, that from what I recall learning about it was basically like France, Spain, England, the main major, kingdoms of old in Europe, all kind of wrote a treaty where they were like, we are each all the rulers of our things, and here it is, official. And before that, oftentimes it was, just conquering empires. This is the era of attempting to stop conquering each other and then go out and colonize the rest of what's there. And then after that, it became a matter of stop colonizing what's there and stop trying to conquer each other. And we're not quite to the stop trying to conquer each other part yet in the global phase. The UN is kind of almost like a walking Magna Carta for the modern age, but it too needs to be replaced. So much corruption is present, and unfortunately it's because a lot of people just cannot voluntarily, you can't force people to voluntarily get their act together, and you cannot force people to get their act together. That's called the Chinese Communist Party and what it does to China, and it's terrible. So, there is a certain abstract nature to all of that. The idea is that we all each have natural rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, dignity. There are people that, it's not that, many of these are voluntary rights. That's the point. Is that like, okay, in America we have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. The necessity of a free state, etc. That the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. And so, okay, cool, you have the right to bear arms. It's not the requirement to bear arms. It's the right. It's a voluntary right. Free speech is a voluntary right. You can choose to just not say anything and stay out of it too. That's what liberty means. So you have the right to be alive once you're alive. There are people that argue this with the abortion thing to do with that as well, as to, at what point are you a separate life? You have okay, but here's the thing. We do have kind of a right to dignity. So I feel like that is a thing that needs addressed. About, it's like, well, I've said it before. It's not just, I'm not so much pro-life, but I'm pro-quality of life. If you're bringing life into the world and you cannot support that, you cannot provide for that, you cannot tend a child to grow into be an exceptional and great adult and do the right thing in the world too. If you just raise a shit or a little monster or something that turns into a big monster, you violated that person's rights. Shouldn't there be consequences? Isn't that how that goes? You violate someone's right to life by murdering them, there's consequences. You falsely imprison someone, that's their right to liberty, there's consequences for that. And you can civilly sue for consequences if somebody interrupts your pursuit of happiness. So dignity as well. That's what Johnny Depp's defamation suit has to do with as well. So everything ties in. It's all, like I said, we're coming up on a thesis. More people need to voluntarily get their act together. And self included, I'm working on it. I'm always working on it. Doing okay. I clean my house. The floors are clean. Cobwebs are gone. Air's been fresh with open windows when the weather's been nice. Trim my beard. More people need to voluntarily get their act together. I don't know how to make it happen because you can't. You have to let it happen. Allow it to happen.